Hi, I'm Buzz, and this is the 49th episode of the Blitz Break. Thank you for being here. Of course, I've got the normal people here with us. We've got Julie. How you doing, Julie?
Great. So glad to be here.
Are you?
Yes.
You weren't here last week.
No.
We missed you.
Yes.
We had a great guest last week.
I heard.
I'm glad for you to be back. And, of course, I've got Justin here with us.
You're stuck with me.
You know, one of my cohorts here. And today we have back, Albert Chavez, right?
Albert returns.
Albert returns.
Part two.
You know, Albert is an amazing mortgage lender but author also. And we're here to, we talked originally about your book. We've got it displayed over here, From Darkness to Redemption.
Yep.
And we talked a little bit about the beginning of the book. We didn't really get to the last parts of the last
We only
chapters.
talked about the darkness, not the redemption.
Not
the redemption.
So
that
we
was
had
the hardest part, by the way.
The darkness just rolls, man. It's not
Right,
a hard
yeah,
thing
it was
to do.
fun. Sounded like my normal Saturday night.
Yeah.
But no, we wanted to bring you back so that we could finish some of the conversations, some of the last chapters. And I've read through and really interesting stuff. But I also understand that you're in the process of writing another one.
Yes, sir.
Tell us just a little bit before we get back to this one. What's that process like? What are you doing?
So first and foremost, thanks for having me. Love being here, and I was excited because what I like about this conversation, it's conversational, and leading into the fourth book, it's going to call Fatherhood, and that was inspired by my son. So if you read the book already, he wrote a little bit for me, and he's going to be 28 this year. And just through my journeys with talking with men, I'm finding that there's a space that's missing. It's a conversation about when men become fathers, what that process is like, some of the struggles and the tribulations and the lack of conversations that men have about this new adventure becoming a father.
Yeah.
And so the idea with the book is to have conversations. It's about like what's worked, what didn't work, what you loved about it, and what you have missed in not being a father. So it's in the works. Matter of fact, I want to talk with you still an interview. I'm interviewing about 25 men. I've interviewed Julie's husband, Johnny, already. And the idea is to really get a collaboration of stories of men and their background and what fatherhood has meant to them.
Yeah, it's definitely a game changer. You know, I never, just a little bit of, up front, I never wanted to be, I never wanted children. And it was kind of one of those surprise things. And I mean, the moment that it happens, there's this, I don't know if it's a chemical change. They say that about motherhood, but I don't know if it's a chemical change or whatever, but it was like a light switch went off and completely changed everything in my life. And, you know, I wasn't as close to my father because my parents split up. I wasn't as close to my father as, you know, as a lot of people are. And I'll tell you, if I don't talk to my son, if we don't talk a couple of times a day, I feel weird. And he's 36 now. He'll be 36 this next month. But I mean, we talk all the time. I mean, and it's just so natural. I can't imagine my life without him.
So the book was inspired by my son. He's like, Dad, I know your story, and I think more men my age would love to learn about that. So that's the inspiration behind it. And so I can't wait for it to roll out because I think it's going to be a phenomenal topic. And the rabbit hole you can go down is we all have healthy children, right? Well, what if those men that don't have healthy children, meaning they have some sort of disability or someone who's passed away, like all these challenges that we don't talk about. I would love to hear stories from those men. So I'm throwing it out there. So if there's any men out there that have stories or would love to talk to me about that, I would love to talk with you down the road because I could see this going so many ways. And the idea is not to heal men necessarily, but to have conversation because we know women talk all the time, but men only talk when bad events happen to us, and I don't want a bad event to happen. I want it to be a natural course of conversation of fathers like yourself. Yeah.
I think I've brought it up on the podcast before, but it's funny, and it's a unique situation that I didn't experience until I was a parent.
Yeah.
Is you have these group of friends, and most of the time your kids are your friends together, and you're kind of at the same stage in life. And you just happen to be vulnerable and say, like, God, I cannot stand that this, and this, or I'm trying to do this and this kid won't do that. And you think you're the only one, and I'm struggling and I can't do it. And they're like, oh yeah, it happens to us all the time. You're like,
amen. Yeah.
Just that feeling of, oh, I'm not alone. When you're sitting there going like, why can't I figure this out? Or why is this hard for me to deal with? Why can't I get over this? Or why can't I teach my child this? Or I'm not seeing that this is working. And then you're like, oh no, we're doing the same thing in our house, you know?
Yeah. Amen to that.
But
I think men are very guarded because they have to be the man of the house and everything has to be perfect. And I think that image, you're right. There's a huge need for them to be vulnerable. So how do they become vulnerable, and who do they become vulnerable with? I think that's like, what would you say to that? Who's a man supposed to go to if he wants to be vulnerable?
Yeah.
Like, are we going to create groups? What do you think?
Well, so here's my experience is I'm going to go down a rabbit hole myself. So for me, I got introduced to, and I talk about in the book when I go on a desert journey, I got introduced to this thing called men's work. And you have to understand my background. I didn't trust men. Men hurt me.
Yeah.
When I would go to places with my father, you know, what they talk about is, hey, have you kissed a girl yet? You're 12 years old. Hey, have you had sex? Hey, have you drinking a beer? That's the initiation to manhood, right? In this modern day. Or when you did it and you were ridiculed. So guess what I learned how to do? I learned how to lie. Oh yeah, I've done that. 15. Yeah, I've done.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be ostracized. So going into men's spaces, what the biggest thing, and I talk about in the book a little bit, I'll share a little incident. I was 48. So for me, I'll call it late in life into really opening up to men. I didn't trust people. So I think what happens is a lot of men develop this shell, this protective mechanism that I'm only going to give you what's available. And in order for you to go down the layers of armor, I have to trust you and confide in you in a way where I know that you're not going to talk shit about me, or you're not going to use it against me, or you're going to violate something that I thought we were entrusted with. So men in general, I think, are very guarded with what they say because of their experiences of being a young man in manhood. And so for me, it took me I'm going to say a couple of years to really open up. But this men's space, here's what they did really great. I remember this one call I had, and one of the first calls we had was basically the conversation was, if you really knew me, you would know that I did ... So if you really knew me, you know that I did this. And so the leader started with something that was really out there. So it forced everybody to, oh, he went there, I can go there now. If you really knew me, you know that I did. And so, there was some crazy stuff. There was stuff from men being molested. There was stuff from that men maybe stole something, or just these secrets that we hold. And the idea was a space is to make sure no one gets judged. And the agreements are confidentiality, which we don't talk about what you just said. It's brevity in what we say. And this agreement of keeping it like so I learned that I could only be safe if I was more vulnerable.
Sure. Yeah.
The more vulnerable I became, then, oh, okay, I can now share more. That's where the book comes from. The reason I wrote the book is because it allowed me to just, instead of me holding on these stories, I just let it out. Like I opened myself up, like, now you're really going to know me, and I don't care what you think about me, but this is my reality of life. And that's where I think where the book is coming from, to where let's just talk about it. Let's examine it. Whether you want to be a father or not, just know that I've talked to men that I asked them the question, what would you have missed if you weren't a father? And there was just, so some of these men that don't want to be fathers or can't be fathers, they have an idea of what a man like yourself, what would have you've missed if you were never a father, or you a father. Yeah. And so again, going down the rabbit hole of, I think the one word is trust.
So you're talking about this man's space.
Yeah.
Is that I'm assuming that's a group and like a weekend or a meeting that men come together.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of them out there. And I talk about the book. So in the book, I talk about, I went through this desert journey when in 2020, and it was called the Rites of Passage. Have you heard of the Rites of Passage before?
Yeah. The concept of it.
Yeah. So the Rites of Passage of this is like in let's just say the old days, like we'll call it the Native American, just for example, right?
Yeah.
Or the tribal days is when a young man was 12, 11, 13 years old, they would send him out to go survive. And you either come back or you don't. That was their rite of passage of now you're becoming a man, because now you got to figure it out on your own. So there was fasting because there was no eating. There was a long trek, right? There was all these things you need alone, the solitude, right? How many men struggle in solitude? The idea was to, from this point forward, that young man to become a man. So kill the boy so you can become a man, right? Yeah. And so this was a version of that in the desert where I fasted for 4.5 days. The story behind the story is I broke my leg 2 weeks before the journey. So it was a real journey for me where I literally went with other men. And so that was my first time that I was around other men that didn't judge me based on my circumstance. Matter of fact, the guys, I talk about in the book, the guys had to vote that it was okay for me to go in order for me to go. And so this rites of passage was a way for men to become men. And so the point of all this is this was the first time I saw a men's organization that their pillars were about making men better. That was the first time I've ever heard anything like that. So conceptually, I had seen men being weak, or men being dominant, or men being violent. I grew up on a lot of violence, or men being alcoholic, or all these things, but I never saw a man truly like be truthful, be compassionate, be vulnerable, all those things. So that was a big shift for me. And then from now, I'm a part of the organization now. It's called Rising Man. I'm part of it now. I help coach and mentor men. I'm part of the leadership team. I help the teams, because I failed so much in life that I'm a beacon of light sometimes. Like, yeah, I've done that. I'm not saying that I know it all, but you probably should think about this. And so it's been a great opportunity to get back.
There's a great scene in the movie. Was it 300? Yeah. Where in Spartan, cultural, they sent him out. And I always think about that. That was when he became a man, became the king, that type of stuff. So now we talk about you writing. What really was the key to bringing you into wanting to be an author? I mean, what? Just wanting to tell the story?
Well, honestly, truth be known is when I made all the changes. So little context. So when I started making these massive changes, I was still drinking bottle. I was still drinking alcohol. I was still eating a certain way. But the big thing is I hired a coach, a life coach, and I hired a personal trainer. So I'm gonna name Jason Salinas. If you know Jason Salinas, he's an amazing man. He was by far one of the biggest. I would say advocates of just teaching me what it took about like having a fit body, right? So these two people came into my life that I hired, and it forced me to really look at my soul and what I was doing wrong and what I needed to change, and then also physically what I needed to change in that capacity. So as I was going through this journey in 2020 and these changes were being made, at the time I was still in solitude. My kids weren't talking to me still. And so a year goes by, and then I started running into people, and they're like, Albert, like, is that you? I go, yeah. And then 2 years went by in 2022, and this is where the real story comes in. I turned 50, and I was in Cabo for my 50th, and I was fit, and my sister made hats that said 50 AF on it, right? And we're in this pool in Cabo, and they're coming, who's 50 here, right? And they thought everybody else was 50 except me. They're like, that guy over there. They're like, that guy? And so honestly, 30-year-olds were coming up to me, like wives were coming up to me, like my husband has a crush on you, like all these things were happening, right? And it was the first time that I got acknowledged, like, oh, wow, like, okay, people were seeing the physicality of it.
The change, the physical change, yeah.
And so what ended up happening is that was when I got back is when I stopped drinking alcohol. That when I came back, I literally started a coaching program, and I couldn't coach you if I was still drinking. So I literally stopped April 15th, 2022.
That's what my question to you was. What was the key moment that you decided, hey, if I'm going to coach people, or was there a moment that you felt like
the first guy that wanted to hire me was alcoholic?
Yeah. And you're like, I can't be drinking.
And I was still sipping alcohol. Even in Cabo, it wasn't tasting good to me, right? It was all these things were happening where I was off for 3 months, on for 3 months. And again, a little backstory on that. I have a therapist to this day, right? I remember her asking me, and she's sober for 30 years. She's like, Albert, why do you drink? Yeah. And I said, well, it's an industry. The real estate industry is what we do. Kind of have fun, right?
It's true.
And she goes, so you need to drink alcohol to have fun. And she zinged me. She zapped me. I was like, well, no. And that was the first chink. That was January 2022. And then so lead up to March of 2022 or April, I went to Cabo. I was already not, there was already changes going on. It was the elephant in the room that I knew I needed to stop. So when that first person said he drank alcohol, I go, you can't drink alcohol in my program. And immediately I stopped. It was like that day.
That was the key.
So going back to the book, about the book is, as 2022 is happening, I literally got clarity. People don't tell you about when you stop drinking, you have this immense clarity. It's like this fogginess goes away.
Yeah.
It was at the end of 2022, I started having downloads, honestly, from God, from something, right? I think God, he's like, you got to write the book, bro. You got to write the book. I was already writing stuff. It was more cathartic, getting rid of stuff. But story, when I talk about in the first chapter, that story about me, little kid, and what happened to my mom, that was in bed. He's like, you got to tell your story, Albert. You got to tell your story. And that was when it incepted. Where
we've got to see a picture of before and after. Because obviously the way you looked before was totally different than the way you.
Yeah, it's in the book.
It's in the book.
Yeah.
Oh, how did I miss that?
Yeah, it's in the book.
I'll show it to you real quick. Yeah. Anyways, no. So the honest story is it was more because people were asking me the changes, and then the download was like, and do it, and then I'll share what happened when I decided to write the book. Let's see here.
Oh, I did see those pictures. Dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how the book was conceived though was, I talk about hardships, and I was asked this hard question. This girl I'm dating, she goes, I was telling her a story, and she goes, do you need to make decisions in your life whenever hardships happen? Like, does a life event have to happen to you for you to make changes? And I was like, honestly, yeah.
Interesting.
I go, I'm going to say 90% of the men I talk to won't make changes unless their wife left them.
Yeah.
They got DUI. These awful things, events won't change men because we're so stubborn. And so I went through a breakup in 2023, and I remember that it was March, and the downloads were so intense I couldn't sleep at night. So I called my son. It was end of April. And I said, hey, bro, I'm going to write the book. Because I started talking about it. He's like, really? I go, yeah. And him and I were going to go on our first father-son trip in June. And this was the end of April. And I go, I need something from you. He goes, what's up? I go, I need you to be my accountability partner. Now, granted, he was 24 at the time, right? He goes, what does that mean? I go, well, the book has to be done before we go on our trip.
Oh,
June 13th.
2 months.
June 13th, right. And this is like 45 days. And he goes, okay. I go, not the cover, just the guts. And if I don't finish it, I owe you $500, right? He's like, fuck, okay, I'm in, right?
Yeah.
And so he goes, what do you need from me? And he's an amazing man. I hope you get to meet. He's an amazing man because he was asking me the question. He goes, what do you need from me? I go, I just need to check in with you once a week to tell you what I'm doing. At the end of that time, at the day, if I don't get this done by the day that we're leaving, I owe you $500.
I don't want you to pass over that. That's the best thing that an accountability partner can ever ask is, what do you need from me? Yeah. Don't gloss over that. Okay. That is huge. That says volumes about his character. 100%. That says, yeah.
And so, yeah, it was important for him to say it because I was dad. I wasn't dad at that point. I was somebody else, right? Yeah, and so as weeks 2 and 3, it was flowing. Like, I was like, I got this, right? It's kind of like when we were in loans, we're like, we have this spiff we're going to do, or some sort of, contest to make money. Like the first week you're fine. And after 3 weeks, you're like, I don't know who to call, right? So Memorial Day weekend, I had the writing block. and I could not think of anything. So I said, you guys have to really emphasize this. There's no way I couldn't let him down.
Mm.
There's just no way, because I'd already lost him for 2 years. So this was not only a big thing for me, but for us and my relationship, the trust part.
Sure.
It wasn't the $500. I knew I couldn't let him down. So that weekend, I literally closed all the windows, all the doors, shut off all the TV, and I said, you're not fucking leaving this house until you finish the book. And it was Monday morning, and I called him up. I was crying. Grown-ass man crying. I'm like, bro, I did it.
Mm.
He's like, what'd you do?
Yeah.
He's like, I finished the book. He's like, you finished the book? I'm like, yeah. And I felt the whole, like, the weight just leave me. And I got to just enjoy the next couple of weeks getting ready. And the lesson I learned there was when I attached the purpose to an end game, but matched it with the accountability
and consequences.
Thank you. That was the ultimate formula that I learned about my life.
Yeah, I wonder if truly the burden that was lifted.
I'm shaking right now.
Yeah, man. No, that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, you've touched on something that I've been learning my whole life is what is it going to take to continue to grow and to change and become the best version of yourself on a daily basis, right? That the atomic habit ideal of just a little bit incrementally better every single day. But I can identify with what you've mentioned, that burden being lifted. And I think it's so funny because it's like, not only did you not want to let him down, you didn't realize that you didn't want to let yourself down.
Yeah.
And by the time that when you did it and you completed it, it wasn't so much like how you just, even the words that you said, I finished it. I did it. I was able to do it. I did it. And you were proud of yourself. And it's so funny how we don't give that to ourselves. You know, I'm trying to teach my son that right now. We're at that. We were talking a little bit about it. I got a 10-year-old who's about to turn 11, and it's like he's doing 11-year-old things. Like he's starting to like ride his scooter out and about on his own, making sure he's being safe, making sure he's getting more responsibility. He's getting that teenage responsibility, but he's still got that boy mindset, you know? Yeah. And we had a conversation in the car yesterday. I'm like, bud, I got to see you start stepping up, man. Like if daddy's asking you to help at home, I'm not asking you to take stuff off of my plate. I'm asking you because I'm trying to teach you to move to that next level. You know, I'm trying to give you that. I'm trying to give you just a little bit of help. Or, hey, sometimes daddy's going to mess up and I'm going to teach you a lesson by my mistake. You know, I'm not going to be perfect. And that's the reason we were having that conversation is because I made a mistake. I got frustrated with him in the morning. And I was like, hey, I shouldn't have done that. You know, that's not what I needed to do. But you can still learn from this lesson. Hey, daddy should have kept his emotions in check. I shouldn't have got frustrated with you. But why did I get frustrated with you? And how many opportunities had I given you before I got frustrated? So some of that burden comes on you, but daddy ultimately owns his emotions, his outbursts, his, you know, that whole thing. But all of that, to bring it all full circle, is that relying on yourself. We have those negative conversations with ourselves. At least I know I do, where you're like, hey, why can't you follow through on stuff? Why can't you? But we never lean into the positive side of things. Like, and again, the reason it's all fresh is because there's a conversation I had with my son yesterday. Like, hey man, if he plays soccer on a competitive level, and I'm like, hey, we had said something and we said, I know it's overwhelming. You instantly said, yeah. And so if it's overwhelming, you got to tell somebody. Don't let it be overwhelming to you and just be like, hey, this is really hard for me. That's fine. Say it's really hard, because guess what? With that accountability, hey, I might hold you to running more, or I might hold you to doing the hard stuff of let's do some sprints, let's do some footwork. But that accountability is you're not going to let yourself down. The reason it's hard is because you feel like, hey, I'm falling behind and I don't want to tell anybody, you know, but let's, you know, I don't know, man. All of this resonates with me. I could go for hours.
I'm sure you treat your daughter differently than, you know, she's got him like this wrapped around.
Both of them do.
Yeah. Such great kids. So talking about daughters,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I don't want to leave you out because you have this amazing human being as a daughter. So
She has an amazing mother too.
Yeah. Tell us about, some of those pieces as you were raising your daughter.
Yeah. So we'll get a little bit deep here.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you.
I got divorced when Casey was 6 and Troy was 8, which are, kind of her structure years. And I mean, anyone listening, I would tell you, if you are thinking about getting divorced with kids, really think that through because there is so many other things that come with that. So I'll start with that and just say that. So she really funneled, I think, her hurt and all of that into athletics and cheer. And she's become this phenomenal person. But at the same time, it's been hard for me as a parent to let go. And I think many parents today need to let go and let their kids fail. I never did that. I was always coming, Casey does some crazy things. We all can agree.
Yeah.
Some things that I'm always yelling at. I'm like, no, I can't yell at her. She's 20 something years old. I can't yell at her. Like, these are things that your kids need to figure out, and they need to experience the hurt and the consequences. And I think that is the biggest misstep of parents. I am the worst parent in that I always rescue my kids. And so I'm learning that now in the last year, just to let her make decisions and let her deal with the consequences.
What's interesting about that is, and I'm just going to say this, you haven't done anything wrong. I'm going to share why, okay? What I've had to learn is, this is why it's so important, anybody watching this, why you need to have 2 people in the family, okay? Your role as a mom, as a mother, as a woman, is to nurture your child for as long as you need to. The masculine or the father has the ability to lead by allowing them to fail. If that's not there, though, and both parents are allowing them to freelance, there's no structure for them to how to fail. But your role as a mom and a mother on this earth is to do exactly what you did. Just to let you know.
I feel better already.
So it really is. It really is.
I understand what you're saying. I do get that. And her dad has always been the one that's like, nope. You feel I ain't helping you. He's always been that way, and she loves him just as much as me, the nurturer.
So hold your hand real quick.
Yeah.
So no, seriously, you haven't done nothing wrong, and I'm
you.
saying that with love because we forget. I think we forget how important each role is. And me as a dad, I didn't do enough of letting my kids fail. I was actually coddling them a lot.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Their mother was actually more of the opposite, which was interesting. I didn't learn this until as an adult with my son and my other kids, that I needed to let them go. That I needed to. So this is the parable, though. When I failed, me in the book, I let it all out. It allowed them for the first time to see their dad. They were watching me like hawks. Is this MFer going to really, really change?
Yeah.
Or is he trying to do these things to get us back? I know for a fact because there was all these tests that they were doing. I'll share this story with you. I remember vividly, and this is my son-in-law doing this. So when I made all these changes, probably about 2 years into it, I had a party at my house and invited people over, and my brother-in-law came over and sister came over, and there were 2 bags of Doritos on my counter. And my son-in-law comes up to me. He's like, whose Doritos are those? I was like, Julio's. He's like, I know those weren't yours because you don't eat like that anymore. So just little things like that. Or even when I would go out, right, and instead I stopped drinking, they would order me a drink. And I was like, that's not mine. Like I ordered a Diet Coke. And these little tests, right? Albert, Dad, you want a drink? Nah, I'm good. I got water. And it's cool because I'm saying that full circles. I think my children, the legacy that I know that I'm leaving is I may not have parented them the way they needed to be parented, but they got to see their dad literally fall on his ass, literally lose almost everything. And then come out to where the guy, and we've talked before, the guy that you met 10 years ago doesn't even exist except inside of me. And that's super powerful for me to even share because it's so hard to do, yet it was important for me to be the example of what not to do.
It's interesting, talking about the book. Yeah. You talk a lot about, and this is probably a tough subject in today.
Yeah.
But you talk about your relationship with God.
Yeah, 100%.
Amen. How did that come about?
Yeah. So interesting. I was asked that question about a month ago, and I'll be completely transparent. I've always had a faith. You have to understand the things that happened to me that I've talked about. There's no way I shouldn't be here if I didn't have some sort of guardian angel looking at me. There's no way. And there's stories that you haven't even heard about where I've been in situations with the police, where in certain situations where stuff is going on where I should not be here or I'm in prison somewhere, like, to be full disclosure. Okay. So there's always been this, but I can tell you in 2019, before all that stuff happened with the police and me getting arrested and all that stuff was going on, it was January 1st, and I prayed. I got a fight with this gal I was with, and I was walking, and I was like, God, is this what my life really all is about? I mean, is this what it's come to? Like, are you serious? I cursed him. 2 months later, guess what? All that stuff happened in the book. He took everything out of my life. And so what I've realized, my relationship with God has also been very conditional up until about a year ago, if I'm being completely transparent with you, meaning, God, if you do this, I'll do this.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay? We all do that.
Seems to be what a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And what I've recognized in the last year, and this is like I'm going to say September of 2025, I made a declaration. The declaration was, God, I promise I will put you first above all things, and wherever you lead me, I will be there. I need guidance on how I can serve you better. Literally said those words. And just through that conversations and not always asking for things like he's a genie, but also what can I do to support you? So by you bringing this topic is not coincidental, by the way, because I made the promise declaration to talk about it, right? I wake up every morning, and this is 3 things I tell God. I say, God, show me how great my life can be. God, show me how great my wife can be. I don't have a wife. God, what miracles you have in store for me today? And one more, how can I serve you better? And so I would say more than ever, the conviction, I say conviction, not commitment. There's a difference. The conviction of this is what I have to do. When I wrote this book, I had to write a chapter about it. I don't think I went in as much depth as I should have gone. I need to go further, but it's allowed me to actually talk about things to where I'm very open with my kids more than ever. I bring it to, it's an everyday practice. Every morning I read a page, I write, I'm in the Word, where prior to 2025, I was not. It was more a convenient relationship when I needed something, as opposed to all day, every day.
Well, you say trust in God.
Yeah.
In the book.
Yeah.
And so this is, you're saying that this was September of 25.
Yeah.
So what's been the big, do you have any ahas that's like, what a difference?
For me, it's always been women. Okay. So there was another breakup last year. Okay.
Life event, right?
Another life event.
Life event to bring change.
And why I bring that up is because I've had to realize this little boy inside of me didn't have a mom like you, Julie.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying with love. He did nothing wrong. I wish I had you as a mom.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because I never
That's a
had
good mom.
that. So this little boy, I never had trouble with
Yeah.
men, right?
Yeah.
Men are, it's the women that I have trouble with, meaning this boyish part of me that comes out that is spontaneous and unsafe at times. Okay. And so what I had to realize is that I had to, when I lost this person, is it was brought to my attention that there were still leaks that I was doing that was causing unsafety. That was a little boy inside of me. And so what I finally said, I'm like, and this is where the epiphany came from. I said, God, I need to stop being a boy. How do I become a man? And I'm 53 years old. And here's the words that were said to me. Albert, you must kill the boy in order to rebuild the man. I'll say it again. Kill the boy in order to rebuild the man. People cringe when I say that. And you have to understand is that a lot of men are operating as little boys still. I healed him, but I was still holding on to him. Mm-hmm. What I mean by that is I was still pacifying, nurturing, over-nurturing him when I needed to scold him. Mm. We don't operate like that anymore, Albert. We don't do that anymore, Albert. That's not who you are, little Albert. You're a man now. So killing the boy has required me to really, really, for the first time in my, again, I feel bad for saying this sometimes, but I'm 54 years old, but literally in the last year, I think my full journey from boy to manhood has been taking place. Mm-hmm. The journey with the Spartan. I'm literally going through that in real time of letting that part of me who has survived, that little boy has helped me so much survive in this world, but me serving him no longer served me anymore. That's where the Father has come in. Literally, see the correlation?
Yeah.
The Father has come in and said, kill the boy. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was.
It's interesting. There's things that happen in your lives that bring out these realizations, and I was raised in a religious family, great family. I actually, after high school, during college, when I was going to college, I actually lived at a church camp in the summers and worked at a church camp. And I don't know if you've ever been in that environment, but the entire summer, there would be children that would come through, and every night there'd be some other pastor that would, give sermon, and so that was my summers. And then you get out of college, and life happens, and you age. And as I moved to California, I kind of moved away from going to church. I hardly ever went to church here in California, and it was amazing. Last, I believe November, we actually were in Dallas for a symposium for American Pacific. And after the symposium, I stuck around and I hung out with a bunch of the guys that I went to college with. We were all in fraternity. And we did some crazy stuff in fraternity, obviously. And after that, matter of fact, some of us lived together after college. My best friend and I moved out to California basically together, and he was out here for a while. And it was really amazing because I really haven't spent as much time with these guys. And so I was in Dallas Saturday night. A bunch of us, there was probably 9 couples, all of us great buddies in college. We all went out to a big restaurant there in Dallas, and it took me by surprise because as the food came out, they all stopped in the middle of this big restaurant, stopped, and everybody stood up and they did a prayer. And it totally blew me away. And it made such a difference in everything. And from there, I've started really revisiting that whole part of my life with these guys. And literally, I could show you my text. I get prayers sent almost every day from this group of guys that, being together like this or hanging out, you would never, you would notice, but it's the underlying support that has just really made a big difference in the last, whatever it is, 7, 8, 9 months, that since that time. And it's something that I crave. And so it was interesting to hear your story and to talk to other people. I know you and your husband. Your husband is a
pastor.
A pastor now.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's a pastor.
Wow. And so it's something that's amazing. Last week, Kara was here as a guest, and she was talking about her faith. And it's just, I think it's in my life, there's this reemergence. My partner, my girlfriend, and I, and the things that we're doing now. So, yeah, it's a journey.
It is a journey. I want to talk about going back to 2025. Mine was kind of the same timing where, like you, Buzz, and you, I'm going to do all this for you, and then you give me this, right? That was always give and get. That was my Christian. I was born and raised in a Christian family. And it wasn't until about 2025 that it changed from, you made me to be an impact for others. Yeah. So my affirmations are like, put people in my path from the north, east, south, and west that you want me to meet that will impact them or help me impact others. Yeah. So everything good that happens to you, everything bad, I mean, it's the bad things in your life that make you impact more people. Yeah. Think about that. Yeah. So when people are going through a struggle, that's his way of, he's going to use you more because you went through so much. So my divorce, can't tell you how many young couples I'm like, hey, listen, before you guys separate, let me show you what the other side looks like. Let me show you about the hurt that's going to cause your kid. You know what I mean? Let me show you that side. And that's been great. So now it's more, what can you give me? It's like, how can I help you impact others? So
it's interesting. So I my book, it's interesting because I get different feedback, but my book is all about this word suffering, okay? It's about the growth. And I've had so many people like either love it or hate it. Romans 5, didn't know it was in the Bible, by the way, literally says we're all justified through Christ. The sacrifice leads to suffering. Suffering leads to perseverance. Perseverance leads to hope, and hope to character. I know that was in the Bible. I had no idea. I literally read it. I heard it somewhere. I was like, wait, that's in the Bible? Yeah. And it's interesting we're talking about this because I'm going to say in the last 2 weeks, I've had 11 groups of people literally talk about this topic. Either suffering or perseverance or their character or hope. And we're talking about it now. So it's not by anything other divine intervention that we're talking about this. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate the conversation because for me, I had this hesitation for years of just like, no, I don't want to say that. It sounds too gossipy or gospel-y or whatever. And I think that's where the suffering comes from, to where, okay, now when you put yourself out there, you're really going to see and feel suffering because this anxious part of you is going to be released, and or people are going to give you stuff or whatever, right? But the idea really is the more that we talk about it, the more comfortable and the more normal it gets again.
I think too, Buzz got to tell a fun story, so I want to participate too.
Amen.
I grew up in the church. My dad was a pastor. My dad was
really
always involved heavily in church. I grew up.
Wow.
I thought I was going to be a pastor.
Interesting. Yeah.
I went to Christian school my whole life, but I had a moment where my faith shifted. I was always the outlier. I kind of always saw through, for lack of better terms, the BS that I saw around me, because of being behind the scenes,
interesting,
and seeing a different side of corporate church versus authentic faith. And I couldn't ever be able to define the difference, but I knew I didn't like some of this and I liked some of this authentic faith. But the authentic faith came from people that had broken away from the corporate side and usually had either been through some stuff, seen some stuff, done some stuff, and experienced some stuff.
Interesting.
And that those experiences said like, hey, and I just want to encourage you, because you had said, hey, I didn't, there was a time that I didn't want to sound too gospel-y. And I think that there is a piece where we regurgitate, or people that I've, growing up in that environment, there becomes a lexicon, there becomes a language that people regurgitate. And it's the language of faith, if you will. But it's not faith. It's not authentic. And I think the transition, or at least what I'm hearing you say, is that transition away from, hey, I didn't know that was in the Bible, to like recognizing that this is a really simple blueprint for character, right? Yeah. And it is divinely created into our lives. Hey, if we want character, it's going to require suffering. It's going to require sacrifice. And so those types of things, it's been a weird journey for me. And when I say weird, I don't mean it weird. It's been a different journey, because I felt alone for a long time, because you go, hey, like there's some pieces of corporate church that I don't like. And I don't think it serves human beings personally. But that's not also what I see, in the Bible. That's not what I see a life that Jesus lived, right? And I go, how do I reconcile that difference? And there's a lot of times where you got the regurgitators that go like, well, you can't believe that, Justin will be nice to see in hell, and you're like, well, I don't agree with you on that, And so going through this journey of being alone and going like, look, I'm interested in authentic faith. I'm not interested in regurgitation and being able to say the right thing in the right situation and not live the thing that I want to live. So, for me, I identify with that, but recognizing that I think for me, what I hear you saying is moving away from that kind of something that was always there and moving into authentic faith, which I'm a huge fan of.
Well, the thing about this is the verse that I just,
and Buzz too. Buzz was saying the same thing.
The verse that I just, talked about is, I don't know if I would have been ready for that verse had I not gone through it myself.
Yeah, man.
That's why I was it was like, oh my God, like I've been preaching this, didn't know that it was in the Bible. Like all these epiphanies have been going on for the last year. It's the first time in my life that I've actually been open to what I'm reading though too, and not trying to decipher what I'm reading. That's another thing. I stopped looking at the Bible. What is it trying to say, as opposed to what is it actually saying? What that did is it stopped me from translating what I thought it said to like, no, this is what it's literally saying. This, take it for what it is. Don't try to recreate the will.
That's right, man.
Yeah.
Well, and it's any book too, and obviously, I'm not discrediting the value of the Bible, right? But there's any book. If you read, we brought up Atomic Habits. You read Atomic Habits closed off, you're not going to learn anything from
100%.
it. If you go into this going like, hey, and I think it's funny. For all the years growing up in the church, there was always this big differentiation between the secular and the sacred, right?
Interesting.
And there's no value in the secular. It's always it's only in the sacred. It's only in the scriptures. It's only in this. And then you start branching out and you start experiencing life and you go, hey man, I've learned more in corporate America about quality living than I ever learned growing up in the church. Or quality leaders, or leaders that were selfless versus benevolent dictatorships of churches and corporate churches at times. And you go, wow, like that is so different. Like there's a much more blurred line between the secular and the sacred. And I think you can take a lens of the sacred and look at the secular, and you can take some biblical principles out of books or Atomic Habits, or seeing a leader talk about true leadership, because what it really comes down to is someone who will selflessly value others above themselves. That's what honestly leadership goes through. And it goes back to fatherhood. What you're learning how to do is like, hey man, I'm willing to be selfless. My selfishness wants to go, I can't finish the book. It's hard. I don't want to do that. But hold on. My selflessness says, hey, I made a commitment. I want to show my son what I'm capable of. I want to show myself what I'm capable of. And you start living in that, what's the word I'm looking for? It's living in your purpose, but that sounds too regurgitated. That's why I didn't want to say it, but it's living in it's living in your present. It's being present, right? It's going, I can do this and I'm going to do this because it's going to make me better.
Yeah.
And I don't want to spend another day not getting a little bit better, you know?
That. Yeah, 100%.
It's amazing. So as we've been talking for a long time, tell us what you think. And this is a theme that I want to make sure that we talk about is tell us what you think are the key points on From Darkness to Redemption. Can you put it in a short term, say
elevator pitch?
These are the key points that you should know and for people to read that book.
Yeah. Well, the first point is it's a completely different book you've ever read before. Like the key point is understand it's my story.
Sure.
Okay. Right. However, you may see a part of your story in my story, and understand that whatever you've done, whether you effed it up or it's redeemable as long as you take full accountability and you're radically honest with who you are and who you need to become, regardless of an outcome. The reason why I'm saying that is because when my kids didn't talk to me and they were out of my life, I didn't make these changes for them. I was like, what kind of man you need to become and what kind of legacy do you want to live? And by you becoming, they may never come back in your life. Like literally letting that go. So understanding that whatever you ask for, you have to sacrifice something. You have to give up. In order to get, you got to give up something. But in that's where the faith comes in. You have to do the work. Faith without work is dead. So you have to put the work in whatever changes you want to make. And lastly, that just because you think you're done, you're not finished. Like you may have conquered this, and you may have conquered the Alps, and you may have made tremendous strides in getting your family back. The work is still not finished. And so why I'm adamant about that message is I see a lot of people, athletes are a great example, right? They get in, they make it, and then they get out, and then they just lose it all, or spend it all, or they get out of the habit that got them there. I get up really early every morning. I still work out every day. I eat a certain way. I have a non-negotiables that I do. So, and then when I coach men, it's like I follow the path that I'm still doing. I talk the talk, walk the walk. So the really message is like, yes, you're going to go through stuff. Yes, you can get through it. Yes, you have to be completely honest with yourself and be radically responsible. And yes, you still have to finish the work. The work is not done until God's done with you. When he's done with you, there's no more work to be done.
And what's amazing is that kind of goes right along with the last, 4 or 5 chapters in the book. Exactly what you're talking about, and that's amazing. And now, where do people get this book?
Yeah. Well, if you live locally, like what I like to do is I want to meet you. So if you live within, an hour away, I'll come meet you. I'll get you a book. It's not a problem. I'd love to sit down with you. What I've learned is like the more that I can sit down and have conversations, like again, this is organically happening today, right, guys? It's like we're talking about. The beauty of conversations, of learning about you, that's the connection. So, if you live locally, I'll drop one off. We'll break some bread together. If you live out of the area, Amazon, it's on Amazon. I'm gonna shout out to my son again. He's been such an inspiration for me. There's a workbook that I've also put in. There's a QR code. It's a free workbook. That was his idea. His idea was, Dad, your book is going to punch people in the face. Like they're going to have, because he read it. He's read it a couple of times. He's like, I needed to jot notes down because of what you said, like create a workbook. So there's a free workbook in there that I highly suggest you go through. It's going to, if you're one of those folks that is just looking to make a change, the book is for you. If you're one of those folks that are a victim with society, don't read my book. You don't read my book. Like, don't buy it. I'll still meet with you. But if you're a victim, please don't read my book. But if you're a victim that wants to become a victor, you want to change, and you know what you're doing is not working, you got to read my book.
Well, it's about accountability.
It's about accountability.
And that's what it says. And your you think that your Fatherhood book, and I'd love to sit down and talk to you. Maybe we'll go to lunch or something. But how long do you think that'll be before you get done with that?
Well, I
mean, you could pay me $500 if you don't do it by Memorial Day.
So great point. And actually, truth be known, the second book that came out, there was another accountability partner that I had to have. So you are correct. So I'm in the stages of just interviewing. So I would say I was gonna do it in the fall, but I have about 10 more people I need to meet with. So the beginning of the year is what it's going to happen. And yes, I am going to have an accountability partner. So maybe it'll be one of you two, because I've learned, let me give you a 5-step process I've learned. I'll leave this. It's really easy to say, I'm going to change and make a decision. That's the first, okay, I'm going to change today. I'm going to go sign up for the Marines tomorrow, whatever. The decision, right? And then you're like, well, before the decision, like, I'm aware I got to change. So that's awareness first, decision next. And then you're like, I need to like have an intention to follow through. Sounds good so far. So what am I going to do? I'm going to hire a coach. Yeah, that sounds good. And then you're like, action. I'm going to hire a coach or hire a mortgage lender or whatever, right? This is the last part is the most important, is who am I going to be accountable to? You could do all 4 of these things, all 4 of them, and you'll last 30 days. This one will take you to 6 to 12 months. And the accountability piece is the big piece. So yeah, I'll leave it there, because the big accountability piece, what I recognize for me, is how I get things done. And I don't do enough of it, by the way. I'm not some guy on the wall that I do it all the time. No, I falter all the time. But I can tell you is when I get hyper-focused, when I say I'm going to do something and I have somebody that I'm accountable to and I put a date on it, it always gets done. So yes, beginning of the year.
$500.
Yes, sir.
I'm joking. Julie, you've been pretty quiet today.
I have. I'm just taking this all in. I had an emotional moment. So
you did. Sorry. You're doing okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of times you talk about what the latest tip is on social media.
Yes,
what's the key to social media this week?
I have a great tip today.
Okay,
this week.
so
I do.
So social media, go.
So I think a lot of people struggle with content and what to do, and we're just going to talk about real estate in that sphere. So the top 1%, and these are people that close a minimum of 15 transactions a month. So these are the top 1%. Wow. And they do this on a weekly basis, but they suggest if you're just starting out, do it on a monthly basis. And they do 5 videos. And the videos I'll just give you an example of each one, and it'll take 1 minute. They'll do a face video where I'll use you, Buzz, for instance, talking about lending, talking about the market, just proving to them that you're a professional and you're knowledgeable in your trade. The second one is a text over screen, and it can just be a picture of Tahoe and then stats overlay on it. Maybe what the current market's doing. It could be a quote. It could be something totally off topic. The third one, an open house video to showcase, if it's not your listing, if you're a new agent, it's just a listing of an open house. The fourth video is closing and how that experience went with your customers. Not saying how great you are, but really showing the experience with the consumer. And then the fifth one is showcasing businesses in the community that you serve. So that's number 5. Maybe a local restaurant or a shop, whatever. Really showing people, and by the way, 75% of people buy and sell their homes on the first person they come across. So the agents that are really winning right now are top of mind all the time. And they do that through what? Social media, web presence, podcasts. Anytime they can get forward facing, they win. So that's my tip.
Good one. Love it.
That's amazing. Jocelyn, our engineer, are you listening to this? She takes care of all of our social media. She's amazing. We're gonna have her come out here.
I know.
Yeah, we need her in that chair.
She's a Wizard of Oz right now.
She's the Wizard behind the curtain.
We need a camera on her. So
we do need a camera on her.
Right. From a market standpoint, we were talking about religion and God, and I am convinced that the market is the devil right now, or it's possessed, or something. We might have to have an exorcism. We're starting we're ending the week worse off than what we started, and the bad part is that on Monday and Tuesday. And even Wednesday it looked like, hey, we might be on a good trajectory here. But today, at least when we came in, the market had dropped and it's sitting right on this floor of support. Hopefully that support will stick.
Hold.
Well, yeah, hopefully it will hold. And it all goes back, and this has been the worn out conversation since the Iran conflict, oil prices, all of those kind of things. And on top of that, we had a Fed meeting this week, and the Fed meeting was pretty common. They decided not to raise rates, but what we had in this is a new situation where we're getting to see now members of the Fed that are in conflict with each other. Usually the Fed is like, oh, nope, everybody agrees we're leaving rates where they are, or nope, we all agree we're raising interest rates and that type of stuff. And what's happened over the last couple of meetings is you've had conflict. 2 or 3 or 4 disagree with the others, which that's how economists work. I mean, one economist saying, "Oh, things are great." The other economists go, "Oh no, here's all the reasons why the economy sucks." And so what happened on Tuesday, Wednesday, they left interest rates alone. The market was doing good. Just this morning, I believe it was this morning, they came out with the opinions of the dissenters, the ones that actually wanted to raise interest rates. And that spooked the market. So there
was some Iran
issues
overnight.
You have the Iran stuff that's going on, and oil prices up and down, and so we had a lot of bombing last night.
We attacked over
and so that, along with the prices of the oil, and it's not necessarily the price of oil. This is where everybody has to understand. It's the transportation of the oil. But all of that on top of all of this dissent and, should we raise interest rates? Should we not? So the market is off. And, I was listening to Barry Habib this morning, and one of the things that I really liked is he kind of finished his little speech with, things will get better. Yeah. And he's a pretty smart guy, but so we're ending the week worse than what we started, unfortunately.
You just touched on the main theme. If you're willing to do the work, things will get better. Right?
Yeah.
There you go, man. There's the impetus of the episode of 49.
Regardless.
49, as long as you have an accountability partner.
Yeah, if you're willing to do the work, be accountable.
I learned that. That's
things
my
will
big
get better.
takeaway.
Love it.
Well, that's awesome. Guys, today we had a sponsor, and it's my good friend, Steve Vasquez. He's been on the show before.
Yeah, friend of the show, friend of the
show. He's a sponsor. He owns a company called S&D Stone and Tile, and if you go to the internet, you can find him. I didn't memorize his phone number, but we'll put it in the comments here on the episode. These guys are amazing. He's done a bunch of work at my house, some of my rentals. He's done work for so many of my friends, and just a stand-up guy and company, entrepreneur. So S&D Stone and Tile. We'll get you the phone number, but we appreciate them so much. And guys, it's been a great episode. Great. I love hearing your story over and over. Love your faith. I need to hang out with you more.
Let's do
people like that. Guys, any last words, Julie?
No, I'm just going to leave here and get an accountability partner, Albert.
It can't be your spouse.
Okay.
And it can be your daughter.
Okay.
But it can't be your spouse.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, that's the key.
That. Okay.
Justin,
that's the key.
anything to wrap this up?
Man, you guys crushed it. It's a good episode, and I like anytime anyone wants to get vulnerable and authentic, sign me up.
Amen.
I'm here for that.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you for joining the episode. This was our 49th. Next week is the 50th, and we hope you'll join us at that time. So thanks, guys.
Amen.
We'll see you next week.